go. We're not even 3 feet in the ground right now.
Oh, you gotta stop. That sucks. Can this lift itself up? Yeah, that's all you need.
It's wonderful.
My tracks fall off all the time.
We got close. I mean,
They do.
I've heard.
They do.
We heard that they did. Where this line? How does
The center. It goes in the center of those two nubs. So pull the bottom towards you.
Yeah. What do we? We're hung on the rocks or something.
Yeah, just grab it there. You got it. All right, now pull it all the way forward. All right, try putting it on the top first, and then he'll have to track forward with this track only. Alright, so these forms are about ready for concrete here. So this is what it is. So it's going to have a shelf in here. So the beams are going to sit right here. And then the road deck, the height, that's where we're pouring the concrete to, that height right there. So here's this side. Then there's the other one over there. That's the same thing. Alright, so we're here today to pour the concrete. So the guy hired this pump truck. The forms are all done. And the concrete should be here any minute. So I guess the hose has a clog.
Yeah, so instead of taking it apart, we'll bang on it with that with the hammer. Should loosen it up, so it should come right out. You found one? They say they're waterproof boots, but I don't know. I have to start.
Right where you need it, right?
When it's pressed up, it needs room to come out, you know, against the wall and the bar.
Go ahead, Ralph.
It'll make it do that.
Yeah, slow down. We're losing it over here, guys. I gotta get that piece of.
I think we should spread some, you know, move this, come over this way, so this side's even with that. It's all balanced out, you know, so this.
This is what so it trim itself up.
Alright, so I'm back here today. The plan today is to set these beams on the bridge. So the concrete was poured a few days ago now, and we're stripping off the forms. And, you know, we get to lift those I-beams in place for this bridge. So that's going to be pretty interesting. So I think probably going to use the skid steer for it, because the skid steer is the only thing that's on this side of the stream, and the excavator is over there. I was clearing some brush with it, so I guess I'll get the beams like halfway with the skid steer and then use the excavator the rest of the way. So let's get started. All right, so we just finished setting these steel beams in place for the bridge. So that went pretty smoothly. We had to do a little more cutting than we planned on, but that's no problem. So the next step here is we're going to paint these, and we're also going to mount them. And one side is going to be like bolted down, and the other side is just going to be like floating. So that way the bridge has room to expand and contract. You know, once it's painted, then the deck needs to go on it. So we're doing a wood deck made out of oak boards. And the oak boards, they're here, but they're on this side of the bridge, and there's no other way across. So the other next thing I'm doing is getting all those logs across. So I got to drag them all to this spot, because I just took a bunch of trees down from the house clearing site. And I guess what I'll do is I'll use the excavator. I'll use the excavator to set them on there, and then the bobcat, I guess then I'll slide them across, and then I'll use the bobcat to pick them off and load them on a truck. And then they can go to the sawmill and then come back as the decking. But that's good. That'll be some real nice recycling, I guess, for using the trees that are on this site. And even this right here, this was a nice big tree, so that could be part of it. Alright, so I just finished, here's the building site on this property. I just finished clearing that, and now we need the deck for the bridge. So here's all the wood, or the logs, that we're going to have milled for the bridge deck. So I got to get them out of here. So my plan is to just use the skid steer loader and drag them to the bridge, and then I'll roll them across those bridge beams. And also, while I was working in here, I got real lucky because I need some rocks for the edges of the retaining wall dirt on the bridge, or the fill. And I found all these in here. Like, everywhere on this site, there'd be like a little rock sticking up, and then you dig at it or something, and then you'd pull, one of these big rocks would pull out of the ground. You know, they'd be like 98% buried. But that worked great because we needed these, and that way we won't have to buy them. This should be enough to do that whole project. There's quite a few. So I'll be real efficient here. I'm going to be dragging out logs, carrying out rocks, and then every trip I make back, I'll try to grab something off the side of the road too. There's still a few logs and stuff, and I'll bring them here with the rest of the wood, because there's a pile of pines right there and a pile of firewood. So it's nice when everything's all in one spot, and it's right on the edge of the clearing. So that'd be really easy to load on a truck once the bridge is finished. So, all right, let me get started. All right, the last thing that happened here when I pretty much finished the other day, I had this track jump off this machine. And I've never had the tracks come off this machine before, but you know, it happens on my other machines sometimes. So let me try. I tried to get this back on by just kind of like backing up and turning, but these things are so tall on this machine, it wasn't able to jump back on. So I'm gonna have to loosen up this track. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, so these tracks are kept tight by like a cylinder that's got grease in it. And so the way you loosen it up is usually there's a plate or something, or sometimes you can just get to it on the side. All right, it's not that one. Let's go for that one. All right, so in there we have a grease fitting on the right, and on the left, I'm assuming that's the thing to let the grease out of the track. So I'm gonna loosen that, and then the front idler on this machine should be able to push in to take the tension off. All right, now the grease is coming out, so now the track can loosen up. Backing up and turning, pushing this on and lifting up a little bit with the bucket, I should be able to get it. Turning the machine with the thing all loose was able to pop it right back on. So it probably happened just out of frame. I don't know until I look at it, but. All right, so all I gotta do now is tighten up that back grease release thing, and then pump the other grease fitting back full of grease. All right, now these plates can go back on. I guess this one here, it lets you inspect the cylinder, because usually when these go bad, that seal will leak on the cylinder, and it's actually an easy job to replace, but you could, under this plate, you can see it. Alright, it's been about 3 years since I've used this welder generator, so let's see if it starts up. No, because I ruined a grinder once with this.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so if you have it set to weld, don't use these plugs.
Okay.
If you're on weld, you can use this one. And if you're not welding, you can put it on power, and then the motor will kick down to an idle pretty much. And then
use
you
the
can
lower
use,
two?
then you use these
That's
ones.
110. What does that one say?
They're all 110 or 115.
It's just-
Top tight? Let me know when you're ready. It's against the thing.
Okay, go ahead, go for it.
Alright, so I just finished up doing all the welding here. So that went pretty well. The welder ran great, which is nice because I haven't used it in a few years. And so all these brackets are on here. So the next step would be we're going to paint everything, and then those white boards, the 2x4s come out of there, and the white boards go between the beams and the steel, and then that can get bolted down. And then those bars there were to kind of keep any twist out of these beams, and that needs to be painted. And these brackets there are for the railings. So that should be pretty sturdy. I welded the date into it there as well. And You alright, Sadie? You good? So there's one more there. And I gotta do ones at the ends, but my welder leads aren't long enough, so I'll just finish them once the, so the next step is the paint, and then the bridge deck can go on. I'm back here today. So the homeowner got all these boards slid into place. So that looks nice. You could actually drive across this now if there wasn't a big drop off right here. But that's good. This is a lot of progress. So I got a little bit more welding to do that I couldn't reach because the leads weren't long enough. So now I can pull it up onto the bridge deck. weeks now, my truck, it's been like losing power. Like you'd be stepping on the gas and it feels like you're just taking your foot off the gas for a couple seconds and then the power comes back. So that's happened before. It's usually just the fuel filters. So let's change them. Alright, here's the new one, and I got it filled up with diesel fuel. Alright, that was easy. So, the auto parts store only had one of those, but I think they're hooked in line, so I can't imagine they'd both be dirty. I changed the first one. So let's cut these old filters open. I'm curious what it looks like inside of them. Alright, so this was the first one. Let's see what's in it. I suspect... Well, I guess that filter's doing its job. I mean, you can see... I mean, that looks pretty dirty to me. Let's cut this one open. Hopefully... I mean, this truck has 3 fuel filters in line. This was the first one, so really that should have caught everything. But let's just see how it looks in this one. Well... Alright, well, that's what's in a fuel filter. I've been driving my truck all day now, and it's got nice, consistent, strong power, so that's good. It's definitely fixed. Alright, so I just finished getting all the rocks moved up here, so that's probably more than enough. So now I brought my excavator. I can start putting them in place. And the neighbor's dog came and visited. Look at this snake here. I think it's called a milk snake. I'm not sure. It's got the orange stripe and its whole belly is orange. Alright, let me put that guy out of the way. Alright, I just brought in a bunch of material to bring the ramps up so the entrance and exit from the bridge is much less steep. So there's 3 on this side. And on this side, I wasn't really counting, but I think there's more than 12 in here. So I got my Yanmar here to spread these out. But yeah, there's a lot of material right here. All right, let me get started. Alright, so we're at the point here where this bridge is finished. So let's check it out. The homeowner just finished putting these railings on it and kind of built like the top. Put planter boxes in them, so that looks nice. So I got my dogs here to inspect it. Alright, so the next step on this project is probably going to be digging the foundation. And I could bring in more gravel for this road, but I'm probably not going to do that yet because we have to dig up this entire driveway to do the underground electric service. So there wouldn't be any sense of making it the gravel like perfect if we're just going to dig through the center of it. So that could be done after the electric's brought in. But for now, this is great that we could drive in here to work on this site.